Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Saturday Shout Out with the Thrive Tribe. So happy to have you here on another Saturday, and I have a very special guest. This guy is so fascinating. He has more aspects of his life than most of us will ever have in our whole lives, but his name is Andy Blasquez, and I'd like to welcome you to the show. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks. I'm enjoying this already, so big smiles.
All right, well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Andy.
All right. I am, first, most importantly, I'm a dad. So my boys are my life. They are 11 and 12, almost 13, into sports and all that. So I'm coach dad, and recently I'm mom too. So mom and dad. So my favorite roles. But so that's the most important bit. I'm a middle school teacher. I teach, I'm an intervention specialist. So students that it's often not a lack of ability or capacity, but they're lacking some strength and some esteem, some confidence, some sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and I love trying to field those needs, find those needs, and just kind of tend to them as human beings before I tend to them as people. I've been doing real estate forever. That's something that helps supplement a teacher's income. I race anything, anything with 2 wheels, 4 wheels, from triathlon and bicycles to I road race motorcycles forever, and I pay for it dearly when I wake up every morning with aches and pains. Vegetarian since 1991. Vegan for the last 5, 6, 7 years, something like that. Feel strong. 52 years old, and I'll be doing Ironman Santa Rosa in May. So 140-mile race that I'm scared and excited about. So.
Wow. Okay. So there's a lot for me to follow up and all that. So let me go back to your interventionist role. Let's start there for just 1 second.
Yeah.
What do you think would help kids if you were to give them one skill that, you could wave your magic wand and say, you have this? What do you think would really help them to be more successful in school or in life?
Yeah. And which really are the same skills that we're teaching, right? That's an excellent question. I think, I can't even say that it would be a skill that I want to teach them, but I want to teach them the awareness of them as a whole being, and that if their sleep is out of whack, that's going to have a negative effect on whatever they're doing, sports, academics, socializing. If their nutrition is out of whack, and it's virtually always out of whack in our middle schools, that's going to undermine any effort that they have. They'll have less energy, less clear thinking. If their sort of spirits, I call it our spirit, but if their sense of themselves and their integrity, their interdependence is damaged, then that undermines it. And I want them to see themselves as a whole thing, as a whole being, that they can strengthen themselves, that they can look at, how's my sleep, how's my nutrition, am I helping people, and get out of their own heads and realize if something's out of line, it's going to show up. And those mistakes, those missteps, those struggles are the result. They're the teachers for us. They just teach us that something within us is not in balance. Mm-hmm. And if I could really tie that into them, so that when they have a struggle, that they can look outside of their sort of moment of emotion and look into that toolbox of, do I need to make sure that I'm hydrated, that I've got actual food that's going to give me some nutrients? Is there something weighing on my heart that is stopping me from thriving, or maybe I could talk with a friend or a family member or a counselor to help me unpack those things, that they all go together. And that's the I think more important than any academic that I could teach them.
Yeah, well, and that definitely comes before the academics, because there's a saying, you have to Maslow before you can bloom. That you have to meet your basic needs before you can become self-actualized and really learn, have the brain capacity to sit and learn. I love how you said whole being. That's something that I've been using as a hashtag lately, because well-being is obviously one of my platforms.
Yeah.
But really well-being and whole being. And so it's about all of the pieces fitting in together. So now I'm going to jump forward. And speaking of well-being and whole being, so you talked about racing a lot.
Yeah.
And about entering this triathlon, this Ironman. Yeah. And I have been following you since when we met. I guess a year ago. We met.
Yep. A little over a year ago. Yeah.
And so I was talking to Andy, and he was telling me about all of these crazy things that he does. And I was like, that is so interesting. I obviously need to get out more and exercise a little bit more and do some things. But then, I've been following sort of your story on Facebook. I love reading your posts. And I'm wondering if you can just tell the Thrive Tribe a little bit about the highs and lows of this quest you have for doing the Ironman.
Sure. So I might start a little deeper and kind of climb out. Maybe we'll climb out.
That sounds beautiful.
So for no reason that I can put my hands on, when I was young, and I say that from my birth until I was probably in my early 30s, I struggled with depression, not outwardly, but just something I didn't understand why I felt the way that I did. And as I got into my late teens and 20s, I searched for the feeling that made me feel good. And I've never been one to use drugs or anything, even medication for that matter. But I did dive into sort of adrenaline pretty deep. I knew that if I was out, going 170 miles an hour on a motorcycle in the rain, on wherever I was, if I fell, I would be in a different place. If I didn't, I would be in a different place. I would, if I fell, I would be that crazy guy that everybody was like, did you see what happened? So I kind of become the hero. And if I had success, then I kind of would become the hero. And I became successful at those things that a lot of folks wouldn't feel comfortable even sort of attempting. And that's not bragging. In fact, I've blogged about, it's a bit embarrassing. I've been blessed to be successful at a lot of different things, and I've sort of squandered that. Well, through rehabilitation after an accident, I got into cycling and mountain biking, and that's when, in some of the long training sessions, 6 hour, 7 hour, 8 hour bike rides with, thousands of meters of climbing and whatnot, it strips away the outside of who you are, and you're just left humbled and natural, very humbled, and it's given me an opportunity to let the noises of the day go away and to sort of come to terms with some things that I've some bumps along the way that I've struggled with. And so now I have a little hashtag that I put in all my posts that says it's always too early to give up. So I have had lots of broken bones and surgeries and dislocations and concussions and the like, and they have created their own obstacle toward me sort of getting this done, this Ironman dream done. But then I ended up putting it all together, got myself ready, literally thousands of hours of training to be ready for Ironman Lake Tahoe a few years ago. And that was marked as the most challenging one-day event on Earth. And brought the family to Lake Tahoe, held the ashes of my cousin in my hands, and to put him in the lake. That was where he lived. He passed that year, and then we stood in the water, and with 14 minutes before the gun went off, they canceled the race. And with 2,000 athletes sort of in tears on the beach from all over the world, it was an amazing experience. So after that, I came home. My wife at the time thought it was time for a change, so I put everything behind me and we moved to Southern California, which is where we live now, how I got to meet you. Got things settled, and I really wanted to get back on the horse and see if I couldn't put things together one more time. It's not a position I can hold myself in for a long time. It takes a long time to build, and then you kind of, in the life as a dad and as a teacher and little league coach and things, and you can't just live in that level of fitness. So we, again, so humbled. I'm part of a triathlon group from around the world, and the founder of the group is one of the most successful athletes on the planet for triathlon, and he happened to have the golden ticket to get to a race in Germany that was such a pipe dream that I never even allowed myself to dream. So he asked the group of 800 of us who gets the ticket, and I said, Simon gets the ticket. He's a rock star. He's a hero, right? And like a week later, my phone just blew up and all my social media blew up. And they picked me to go to Germany. So it was inconceivable to even think of going to this race that sells 5,000 spots in 90 seconds that you can't get in. So I built and built and built, and we booked our Airbnb and booked our airlines, and the family was going to go to Bavaria, and we're going to have this entire experience. And a couple months beforehand, in a training ride, I had a fall and broke a couple bones in my back and my shoulder, and collapsed a hip, and that was over. So, and then right about shortly after that, my wife at the time, I think she was done. So she went on her own journey, and I literally and figuratively have been putting the pieces back together, and now I feel really blessed. I can't say I feel great, but I feel super fortunate, and we're putting the miles back together, and my sons are excited to try this one more time. We're going to get there. We're going to actually get to start, and I know if I start, I'll be able to finish, and it's going to be brilliant. So that's in May. So I got 10 months to get this 52-year-old bod ready to go 140 miles. So
it's such an extraordinary level, even beyond the exercise that I can't fathom, because exercise and I need to become better friends. But just the incredible disappointment of being moments away from 2 races. So then the devastation of that, the devastation of the body breaking and not functioning. And yet here you are ready to take it on again. What do you think has created that sense of resilience in you, and your hashtag of not, it's too early to give up?
That's a brilliant question. Where it comes from, I often think that it may be because I'm dad, that I I need to teach them that if there's something that you love, if it doesn't come easy, that's okay. Like, you can still get up, you still gotta get up. And I still need to get up and make breakfasts and bag lunches and do laundry and grocery shop and teach and tend to other clients and consulting things. And then I was supposed to run today. Wait, So, but, I think I'd be lying if I didn't say there wasn't a sense of maybe spite. I don't know. There's the question has had me look inside of it. Maybe because I do feel that I've squandered a lot of opportunities. I didn't bring up that I've been a musician most of my life, and I've had the opportunity to play on stages with phenomenal musicians, from guys in the Doobie Brothers or Ozzy Osbourne or Chris Isaak, and just people that I admire, and I'm constantly living my life in a way of going, how am I here again? Why do I get to do this? So to have not, the pauses are sort of the revelations, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I could have, had I had a little guidance or coaching or more discipline, I could have turned the motorcycle racing or the music or the marketing business sense into a massive career. And as I say that and think that, the struggles or the squandering or the disappointment or the broken bones or the getting the carpet pulled out, I think maybe those are the kind of clear indications that none of that is what would have mattered. That maybe I would be in a home like I live now in Malibu instead of in Yucaipa. Is that better? So maybe my journey will help my boy's journey, and maybe others, maybe like meeting that group, and maybe somebody will see this and it will just tick that one from 50-50 to 51%, and then the avalanche of success after that.
Right, the tipping point.
Yeah. So
I just appreciate so much your vulnerability and willingness to share of yourself. And I want to just touch back to your sharing about struggling with depression.
Mm-hmm.
It has been in the news so much lately, and so I would just ask kind of twofold questions. So, what advice or guidance or tips, whatever wording you want to use, would you give to people who are suffering from depression, as far as reaching out or whatever? And then
Mm-hmm.
what guidance would you give to friends and family members of those that are suffering for depression to best support them?
No, so such good questions. The first one's easy for me, and that is, what advice could I give to folks that struggle? In my own experience, not being a doctor, in my own experience, the routines and the mundane sort of just the day after day after day, I think is our enemy. I think Who Won the Bachelorette isn't gonna make your life better. It's not gonna tuck away the depression. You might be able to drink a couple glasses of wine with a bunch of girlfriends and sit on the couch and cheer and laugh and talk. And I think that puts us below our struggle instead of in our struggle, or maybe above, to kind of climb out of there. So personally for me, almost as I was saying with regard to the student being a whole being, there are days still where I'll be partway through the day and for whatever reason, that kind of uncomfortable it's a pain, it's a darkness that's inside, is still hanging around. And I'm thinking, did I drink enough water? Did I make a smoothie that has all the things that I know my body needs? Did I get my exercise in? And I'm checking all the boxes, like this toolbox of mine, and those things work. Hard science and soft science both agree that those things are real. So if your nutrition is in alignment, it will turn it around. If you are adequately hydrated, it will turn it around. Not with coffee and a Diet Coke, but drink your water, eat real food, and that will help. Exercise, especially rigorous exercise, mechanically turns a switch in us where we can't be in that, we kind of call it suffering when we're training really at the edge. You can't be in that kind of suffering and still be in an emotional suffering. It forces them apart. And so you can separate yourself from it. But I've done those things and still come partway through the day and not been able to shake it. And the last resort is typically to be of support, to get out of yourself and to go make someone else's day better somehow. And it could just be a phone call to someone to check on them, or it could be really anything that's going to be of help to someone, mow your neighbor's lawn, like anything that you can do that's going to make someone else smile. You get that smile too, from doing that.
There's so much research around altruism and generosity in boosting well-being and lowering depression and anxiety. There is a lot of research supporting exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. 15 years ago in the classroom, I had a poster that said, kindness is like perfume. You can't spray it on someone else without getting a little bit on yourself. Mm-hmm. And I was like, so it's like when you give or you compliment or you engage, you get picked up in that process. So, so for me, I've got that bit that's my toolbox, I know that I need to check those things and make sure that, that I'm in line, and that is good. So, now, and as far as, family members, spouses, friends of people, I think, so my younger brother, he's my hero. He's been through quite a bit, and he's actually a counselor up in Northern California in the prison system, and he's doing amazing work. And but he and I are in contact with each other each day, every day, no matter what. Not a text message. We find a way to call each other every day, and it's just to check in. It's like and it's become this thing now where unconsciously I know he's there for me always, no matter what, and we don't, we don't complain to each other. We talk to each other and make each other laugh and look for good things, rather than dwelling on anything from the weather to my crabby relationship isn't the way I want. We can always find stuff to whine about. It's $1 billion industry, So I'd rather just, talk about ideas and events and plan things for the future. So
it all,
mm-hmm.
It all comes back to belonging and connection, that sense of being connected. I just did another interview with someone, and she was talking about how every Sunday her dad would pull out an address book,
mm-hmm.
and he would spend 2 hours just connecting with people, going through his personal phone book and connecting with people. And the fact that you and your brother have this agreement to talk every day, like those are small things that are huge.
Yeah.
You know? And so, I don't know, it's fascinating. All right, are you ready for these crazy questions?
I am.
Okay, they're not that crazy, actually. I have to get out some really crazy ones, but these are facts that boost happiness. I'm going to give you the facts, and then I'm going to ask you a question related to that.
Okay.
So the fact says that studies have found that people are more engaged, social, and happy at work than on vacation. Interesting. You know, before I ask you the question, there's a funny cartoon where it shows a guy at work and he's like sitting at the computer and he's dreaming about being on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
And then they show him in the next frame and he's at the beach thinking about work. You know, we're never quite where we want to be. I don't know.
Right? No, it's so true.
I know. So the question is, though, what was the best vacation you ever took?
I got a couple, so I'm just going to randomly pick one that's a little bit different. So I'm native Californian, 5th generation. My boys are 6th generation from the Bay Area. But we spent 4 years on the East Coast. My dad worked with IBM, and they moved us out to New Jersey, right on the Hudson River. And they always provided for us, you know, pretty neat experiences. And we all piled in a van, a family of 6, pulling a tent trailer, and we drove down the East Coast. And we got as far as like Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And we just pulled out onto the beach and set the tent up, and it just was magic. It was peaceful long before, you know, cell phones and internets and things like that.
Right.
We brought our guitars. We bumped into other campers that coincidentally brought their guitars, and we walked. And, you know, my friends on the East Coast said, "Do you know how to surf?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course I do. I learned in North Carolina." So the brilliant time of family, and yeah, there's nothing spectacular about it, but it was perfect, unforgettable.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, the next one is, contrary to popular opinion, men over 65 are actually the happiest group. The question is, when you imagine yourself getting older, what do you imagine as far as happiness? What are the thoughts that sort of, when you're 65, what do you think is going to make you happy?
You know, there's the hallmark responses of watching my boys thrive and grow and things like that. And of course, that's going to make me happy. My gut, the funny part is, that's a high age group to get to Kona for the Ironman World Championship. I'm like, maybe this time, maybe this block of 5 years I can get in. But, you know, enjoying being healthy so that I can continue living at 65 rather than surviving at 65. You know, I want to, you know, I coach baseball and basketball, and I play with the teams, and I want to do that when I'm 65. I want to play football, and if it's not with my boys, it'll be with their kids. And I just want to keep living life, and I'm absolutely confident. You know, I told my boys I don't make promises, but I promised them 100. I'm going to give them 100 years. You know, so at 65, I should be. I'm still going to be skateboarding. So
I love it. I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. Okay, last one of these.
Yeah.
Happy people think about the good things in their lives, while unhappy people think about the bad. What is contributing a surprising amount of happiness to your life these days?
Appreciating the difference in my 2 sons. So they're pretty close in age, like 20 months. And they couldn't be more different. One's very tech oriented, and he's into graphic designs and computers, and he's now teaching himself to play the guitar, and to watch him in the corner from a distance, and to watch him struggling with trying to make his little fingers fit in the, like, that's just melts my heart, you know? and at the same time, my other son is, I don't want to say this, and this shouldn't have a negative connotation, but he's much more of a typical sort of preteen. He's into sports. He's sort of starting to think girls are pretty special, and I love that. That he's just, I love stepping back and knowing that they're well, and knowing that I'm doing my best to give them the tools to kind of to stand tall and not proud, but stand with a smile. Is that it? Maybe I get to see him smile. That's it.
I like it. All right. Now I ask everyone the same question, so I'm going to ask you, and that is, if you could teach the world just one thing, and granted, the world needs many, many lessons, more than we can possibly teach, but if they were going to learn one lesson from Andy, what would you want them to learn?
Man, that's big, kind of all-encompassing. Another hashtag that I throw on some posts periodically, or tweets more than anything else, is literally and figuratively, we are one. You and me and my boys and folks that are on other continents and who have different beliefs, that we're one thing. We're one energy, and we are each other's family. And I want us to, each 4th of July, and I come from a military background, so Independence Day is a big thing. But at the same time, and with appreciation for everything that our military has done, and I lost my grandfather in the war, in World War II in Okinawa. My father is a Marine, lots of my friends. And with that appreciation, we're done with independence. We have to be done with independence, and we need interdependence. We need to be one together. And when someone's struggling, if you have the means to ease their suffering, that should be our successes. That we should be one thing. I promise there's a 60-year-old man in Cambodia sitting in a hut who probably could use some fresh water that I have. And he probably has some life skills that I will never experience. And if we could share those things, we'll all solve it all. We'll all smile. We'll all have peace. We'll put our guns down. We'll stop pointing at a Bible and making that as an excuse to blow people up. And, we can maybe have one flag.
That's beautiful. I think we should start our campaign for a new holiday of Interdependence Day.
I'm in.
Let's do that. All right, we're in. High five on that. All right, now comes the scary part where you're going to ask me a question, and I will do my best to answer it in an honest and authentic way. Okay.
So you've had great questions for me, so you've set the bar pretty high. When this project, not a project, that's sort of closed, this journey, this path that you're on, as it grows, 5 years from now, because with modern technology, a lot can happen. What will make you at night with your head on your pillow, breathing, feel that richness? Like I saw that smile you just had, but that richness, like 5 years from now, you can kind of go, it's going, this is it, this is good. What's going to do that for you?
Let's see. It's funny. I think it'll be the same in 5 years as it is now. Ironically, it might just be bigger. But there's an old saying, a story that we used to talk about a lot when I was a teacher and as an assistant principal, and it's the starfish story. And a man is walking along the beach and he sees this young boy throwing all these starfish back in the water. All these starfish are washed up on the beach.
Yeah.
He's throwing them back. And he's like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm saving them. He's like, there's too many. You'll never make a difference. And he says, it'll make a difference to this one. And so I actually have if you can, I got to twist my arm.
Yeah.
Okay, starfish tattoo right here.
Love it.
That I can't twist my arm.
Oh, I gotcha.
By that right now. Anyways, squirrel. Anyway, the starfish is there to remind me of a couple things. One is there's a power pose called the starfish pose where you're just like this, and it's to remind yourself of the presence by your own presence, you give other people permission to have presence. Nice. And so that's part of the starfish. And the other reminder is to remind me that it makes a difference to one. So in the Thrive Tribe group, if there are, 3 people or 2,000 people that watch this video, if one person posts, this is what I needed today, I go to sleep a happy camper.
Right.
And so 5 years from now, I hope that I have access to more people.
Yeah.
And but if it's making a difference to somebody, I'll go to bed with a smile.
And there's that service, right? That service that you're giving, and in that giving makes you smile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect.
Well, thank you so much for being here on the show. It's been so interesting, as I knew it would be. And if you don't mind, I'll post links to your blog and website. And for the rest of you out there, I want to interview you. So make sure that you contact me, or I will hunt you down. But I prefer you just send me a little message and say, I'm willing to throw myself out there at your mercy. Can I be in an interview? Because we learn so much about the world we live in by listening to each other's stories. So thank you, Andy. For the rest of you, have a great rest of your Saturday. Bye.
Bless you.